Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be covering a 7-round NFL mock draft specifically for the Detroit Lions. We are putting ourselves in the Lions' shoes for this draft. So we're going to go ahead and get right started. There's a lot that you can do with this draft. Why? Because you have a lot of talent at the top of the board, and you have a multitude of draft picks to play with. Now, for the Detroit Lions, it's a key situation here. Edge is a huge priority in this draft. Quarterback's another one that we have to think about towards the top of the draft. I don't think number one is the spot to do it. I think edge is much more of a priority at this juncture, considering the talented players that are here. You have Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeaux, two guys that are great fits for this football team. You could go with Aiden Hutchinson, who's had a terrific season. So is Kayvon Thibodeaux. In the games that he's played, he is a huge impact player. I'm going to opt for Aiden Hutchinson. I think that he's a more polished player right now. I love his upside as well. So Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the selection, which is absolutely huge for the Detroit Lions. Reason being, he brings a pass rushing presence. He can also defend the run, which is key for this Lions team. Now, the nice thing for them is they have a lot of draft picks to work with. So now we can get a little more creative at this point. You're sitting here at pick 24. This is the pick from the Rams. Now you have to look at that quarterback spot. Desmond Ridder is still here, Carson Strong, Malik Willis. At this point, I don't know if I'm going to go there. At this point, I think there's a couple of other guys I do like at this spot for them. Now, do we risk it and wait for, per se, another quarterback to follow us at that 33rd pick? Perhaps that's the way that we want to go. I'm going to actually take a risk here. There's a couple of corners on the board that I really like. Kaiir Elam and Ahmad Gardner. I think they're better players than they are listed for this ranking. Ahmad Gardner has been a shutdown corner all year long. He's been terrific for that Cincinnati defense. I'm going to opt to go with him. You address that corner need, and then it gives you an opportunity at pick 33 to make a decision. Once again, you have a couple of good players on the board still. I think you think about Nakobe Dean here as well. I think that could be a nice priority pick. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the guy that's got a ton of upside, a little more of a raw prospect, but his upside is there. There's so much to like about what he can bring in terms of a dynamism prospect here. Malik Willis has to be the selection. I think in the actual NFL draft, once we go through all the combine workouts and all that, people are going to be enamored by what he can do physically. And that's what Malik Willis is going to bring for the Detroit Lions at pick 33. I absolutely love the value there. You're getting him in the second round. And once again, the Lions are in a really good position as well to trade down if they feel that they like the board, they like what they're seeing. So kind of looking at what's gone off the board here, guys like Jalen Tolbert definitely could have been a priority here with our pick. We're going to go ahead and evaluate what's at the top of the board. You have a guy like Trey McBride still here, Christian Harris. So we're not considering tight end at this juncture. Definitely are thinking at that wide receiver position. So let's go ahead and take a look at what is still available. At this point, I don't love what's still here at this juncture. Okay, so we're going to look outside of that. And as we can see, a couple team needs, they do list wide receiver like I was concerned about. I think a guy that makes a lot of sense for this team, Jalen Pitre from Baylor. He makes a ton of plays, really instinctual player. I'm going to actually opt to go with him at this point. I think that he's a guy that you can put a lot of different places on the field. You can put him in the slot as well, but I trust him more at that safety spot. I think that's good value here. I know what his ranking's saying, but Jalen Pitre is going to continue to climb up these draft boards. So keep that in mind when we're making those picks. Sometimes it's a little bit about fit. Sometimes it's about value. It really depends. And now you can kind of get to the point where you're thinking about wide receiver once again. A couple of different guys that I'm thinking about. Chad Muma is another one here. Considering how talented of a player he is, and he does not get a ton of recognition at Wyoming. Really good tackler in the open field. I'm going to go with Chad Muma here. I think that also fills a front seven need. I like it a lot for the Detroit Lions for the sheer fact that it's good value and it's a team fit. Definitely consider him one of the top guys that we want to be targeting at that point in the draft. As you see, there's a couple of really good players still on the board here. I'm surprised Breece Hall has lasted as long as he has. He's definitely bound to go pretty quick. He is the 107th ranked prospect, but as you can see here, they are not valuing that position, and there he ends up going to the Texans. So there's a lot that we have to cover yet with this team. The Detroit Lions have done a nice job in this one. You get a quarterback, you're helping out that front seven. Also, this is a team that can do a lot of different things. They can get super, super creative in what they want to do. And I'm excited for the future of this team. I know people are really down on what's happened so far this season, but they've been ultra competitive in a lot of their games, which people did not think was going to happen. Me and myself, I've been super, super surprised with how competitive and close they've played some of these good teams as well. If you remember weeks and weeks ago when they almost beat the Minnesota Vikings the first time around, which was crazy. So they've been able to play Minnesota really, really tough this year for sure. Obviously, when they got that win as well. Now we're approaching pick 177. Now this is more about value. This is about depth. This is, where can we get some of these guys that may have flown a little bit under the radar. Boye Mafe from Minnesota is probably going to be the pick. I think considering he is still here at 177 is incredibly great value. I see him as a guy that very well could go in that third round as well, but getting him here at this juncture is absolutely huge for the Lions. I know we've already addressed the edge spot, but getting another rotational pass rusher could be a huge deal for the Detroit Lions in terms of generating pressure. So then we have one at pick 180 as well. So we have to consider what's on the board here. I don't think a depth wide receiver would hurt. There's a couple of guys on here that make some sense for us. I think Justin Ross is probably going to be the best fit here in Detroit. You may have heard Justin Ross's name, talented receiver at Clemson. I'm surprised he's ranked as low as he is, but definitely a guy that, could really slide into this team and for sure make an impact in that long term. So getting him at this spot in the draft, once again, very, very good value for this Detroit Lions team, which they've hit it out of the park in terms of some of the value picks that they've had. Mafe was one of those guys that I was shocked that he was still around. And now we have pick 216 coming up. Now, once again, you can consider, you might want to look once again at that wide receiver room. Let's take a look at who's still here, who's still available. I feel comfortable what we have in that running back room for sure. You definitely could think another corner depth wise. Interior defensive lineman could be a huge deal for this team. Otido Ogbonnia, I think is how you pronounce that name, from UCLA. He's going to be our pick. Once again, you could probably slot him at the backup nose tackle spot, a rotational guy, a guy that can come in and make an impact. So once again, we do get another selection coming up here in that 7th round. So we're looking at pick 235, a couple of good names still on the board, some notable players that we'd like. Let's see what we are left with when we get to that selection. And once again, you could consider just take a flyer on a guy like Zonovan Knight. He could be an interesting value pick here. Once again, we do have another pick coming up. We're going to take Zonovan Knight out of NC State, good impact player. Just overall depth wise, you have to feel pretty good. I like what we have in the running back room already. DeAndre Swift being one of them, Jamal Williams. And now we are approaching pick 246. Lions, once again, I think this is when we go to the offensive line, get some depth at that guard spot. I think that's kind of crucial for this team. We're going to look on that interior offensive line. Aaron Frost from Nevada, he's playing with Carson Strong there. I like him here. I think the Lions definitely could look along that offensive line for a little more depth. Just in case of injury, I think that a guard at this spot would be super beneficial for this team. And, as we approach the draft, I like what we've done so far in this. I think this is a great way to build up your roster, how it currently sits. I mean, you grab Aiden Hutchinson with the first pick, you get Ahmad Gardner at 24. I'd love that. Once again, Malik Willis. So all 3 picks there, I'm absolutely in love with those top 3 in terms of impact players going onto your roster immediately. Jalen Petrie is another guy that could step in and be a day one starter as well. Chad Muma, I find him to be a starter as well on this roster. A huge impact guy that people aren't really talking about. And as draft time gets closer, we get a little bit closer to the actual draft, I think he's a name that will be highlighted. Mafe, again, a good rotational pass rusher, could find himself eventually being a starter. depending on what they do. Justin Ross, a guy that's going to find the field quite a bit. And so going on, I think that overall we have to be very happy with what we've got in this draft. We had a good amount of draft capital and some good value selections as well. Thanks again for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also, please leave a like if you do enjoy these individual team mocks, as we're going to continue to try to do all teams in the league. So thanks again for stopping by, and we will catch you guys in our next video.